This is Fabulex Makeup. Welcome back to my channel. Today's video I'm going to be demonstrating and giving a tutorial on basic eyeshadow. So I'm going to start off with defining my brows really quick off camera, and then I'll be right back. That way we have a little bit of a frame to start with. You know what I'm talking about. Right, so now that I have my brows on, I'm going to start with doing a base. So what a base is, it's going to help bring out the pigments of the shadows. It's also going to help the shadows stick, and it's also going to help them blend out. You can use an eye primer, or you can use a concealer, any kind of creamy base that's also going to cancel out any kind of discoloration you have on your eyelid. That's going to help. Yeah, I'm going to be using my Get Covered Concealer from Femme Couture in the shade Tan. And I'm applying this with my e.l.f. concealer brush. I like to start by applying the base all over the eyelid area because I want that to be where I get the most pigment for my eyeshadow. If they have any kind of, smudging, or it's uneven, or it's not completely blended out, it'll create some hard times for your eyeshadow. So what I like to do is either use a blending sponge, but today I'm going to use it to blend out a lot of the colors today, so I have some nice seamless blending going on. So now you want to make sure that you set your concealers on your base, and today I'm using the Anastasia Contour Palette, and the shade I'm using today is Peaches and Cream, a nice light beige nude. Just a light layer all over the eyelid area and a little bit onto the crease. So the palette that I'm using today is my Beauty Glaze edition, I Got You edition. It's got all these warm nudes and browns and oranges that are just perfect for creating a pretty wearable anytime, day or night kind of eye look. So the first type of brush you want to think about using is a tapered brush. Now this is also called a blending brush, but usually they're called tapered. And what tapered means is it's going to get a little bit, it's going to start long on the bristles and it's going to get tapered and kind of come into like an arrowhead shape. And it's going to be nice and fluffy. You want it to be nice and fluffy, not too stiff, not too fluffy either. The color I'm going to use is called a transition shade. Now what a transition shade is, it's going to be the color that helps blend everything out into nothing. The transition shade also refers to helping the base color and the crease color, the contour color that we're going to be using to create some depth. That's going to help blend all three of those colors out. So the first shade I'm going to use is Pumpkin. It's a nice toasty orange. That's like my favorite transition shade to use. Honestly, it's really a great basic shade. What I do is apply this just above the fold of your eye. So this is where my fold of my eye is, right here. So I'm going to put that, and I'm going to angle the brush up just a little bit. Up so it kind of applies it directly where I want it to. And my technique for blending is very small circular motions and also windshield wiper motions. So it's almost like a circular back and forth. That's just how I apply my colors because I really like them to be, bam, and blended out at the same time. So I start towards the back of the eye socket first and then blend towards the inner part of the eye. Not taking too much product either. You never want to use too much of the transition shade because that's the shade you want to blend out into nothing. Go ahead and do that windshield wiper motion just to soften out the edge of the blend there. Now this is just an optional step, but I'm going to take the next orange in here, which I believe is called Squash, and I'm just going to intensify the orange. The reason I'm doing this is because for this eye look specifically, I want the orange to be a little bit more of the focus. So that's one of the reasons why I'm kind of making it a little bit brighter than normal. This way you don't have to keep using that transition shade. You can use another orange that's just a little bit darker. That way it can brighten up the crease area too. You want to keep that blend low as well. You don't want to blend it into that other orange because it's already blended out. Now that we have two colors on, you want to take a clean, I'm taking the clean brush that I used with the concealer, a clean fluffy brush. This is going to be essential for you to blend. Take a clean fluffy brush and just blend where those two colors have met so that they blend together seamlessly. You don't want to use too much pressure when you're applying shadows. That's going to help blend everything out and keep everything really nice and flawless. A hard pressure is only when you want to really blend something out that's being a little bit stubborn. Otherwise, you want to think really light-handedly. For me, I'm actually going to work on contouring the eye socket. So that's one of the words I don't think is used enough when you're doing your eyeshadows and you're talking about how eyeshadow works. You're basically contouring your eye socket as natural as you can or as glamorous as you want or whatever the case may be. I'm going to switch to a smaller brush, and this is like a pencil brush. This is the Morphe 560 brush. So now that we're going into the contour, you want to think about taking the darkest shade for your eyes. It's the same thing you do for your face, you want to do for your eyes. Again, you want to keep the brush angled up because you want to get in directly into the eye. As you can see, I'm already going for it. But I'm going to just etch and dust the color on before blending it out. That way I can kind of see where the color's going to be placed. That's just my own little preference. Applying the darkest shade to the third part of the eye, also kind of fading it towards the middle of the eye, and then arching it around the eye socket. So I'm kind of trying to follow my natural shape of my eye as best as I can. And again, this is really, really light-handed. I'm using flicking motions for this brush. That way I can almost blend it as I'm going since I'm using a light hand, but also keep the color really, really vibrant. You can drag this one down just a little bit further because with this I like to blend the darkest part of the contour of the eye into my nose contour. That way it's all kind of like blended in, it's all like yummy in one. You is take the tapered blending brush, not the big one, the tapered one. And again, right where those three colors, or at least, yeah, right about where all three of those colors meet is where you want to do that small circular motions back and forth, very, very gently, and eventually you'll get that nice gradient. Gradient is going from the darkest color to the lightest color without any kind of harsh lines. So that's what a gradient means. And that's what we're trying to focus on. That's what we're trying to get with eyeshadows, which is again, light-handed. Using a clean, fluffy brush will kind of prevent any kind of muddying up of the eyeshadow. It'll keep everything its own color. Another thing I like to do is look straight into the mirror while I'm applying the eyeshadow into this area right here. So that way I know what it looks like when I'm opening my eye. I really don't want the darker color to go anywhere above, maybe just a little bit above the fold of my eye, but nothing further above that. So I'll just go ahead and take the big fluffy brush, and this way we can get everything to blend together. Kind of like tug out the color a little bit too, drag it out. Now if you wanted to make this like super dark and sultry, you could take a little bit of black and put it just below that dark chocolate brown that we did and then blend that all together again like we just did with the last couple of steps. But today, since I wanted to keep it pretty neutral and wearable anytime, day or night, I'm going to just kind of leave it with like the dusty brown in there. And we're going to move on to the eyelid. Any kind of concealer will do as long as it's more on the creamier side rather than the liquidy side. The liquid concealers I feel just crease too much on the eyelid. Using my Femme Couture concealer. So if you turn to the side, I always find it's easier to see the natural shape of where your eye socket begins and ends. So as you can see, it's just a little bit above the fold of my eye. Don't go any further than that. Just keep going. Take it as far as you kind of want without it going any further. You want to have a nice little triangle thing right here to work with. Start right about here, and now with the rest, whatever's left on the brush, tap the area until it's all nice and smooth. Again, you don't want to set this with any kind of powder until everything is nice and blended. That's going to make a big difference on the application of your eyeshadow and the final result when it's like set. So now I'm going back in with my Anastasia to set the concealer. A little bit wet so that way the eyeshadow has something to stick to. Well, I'm going to go with the shade Gold Sand. It's this really pretty gold bronze. I feel like it has like a little bit of green in it too. And depending on what palette you're working with this one it seems like the shadow is pretty creamy, so you can drag as if you're playing it with your finger, but with the brush you can drag it or you can tap it on. If you tap it on, you want to tap off the excess on your palette first, that way there's not any fallout on your face. Finesse that edge right there because you get a little bit of eyeshadow, a little bit of concealer there. I like making it super sharp. So what I'll do is take the same brush, I just cleaned it off. Same brush I used with the eyeshadow for the eyelid. It's like a, you know, flat fluffy definer brush. I'm gonna mix a little bit of the first orange from Pumpkin, mix with a little bit of Bum, and just kind of go just above that gold, kind of clean up that entire area. Again, I'm using a very light hand. And then what I like to do, the rest of it, is begin to fade on the eyelid so that everything kind of becomes one. Just go back and forth with flicking motions, and that'll really help kind of soften that edge there and kind of give the illusion that it blends from one color into the other. You can kind of see, again, where the shimmer and the matte kind of meet. So what I'm going to do is take, again, a color that's kind of close to the dark chocolate but has a shimmer in it, which I believe this one is called Cashmere. I'm going to apply that right where that blend is, and that's going to really help make it look a little bit more seamless, going from a shimmer into a matte. Okay, so next what we're going to focus on is highlighting the inner part of the eye and the brow bone. And for that, I'm going to use the lightest shade in this palette, which is called Creamy. It's the light skin tone beige. Pop this on the inner part of the eye, a little bit on the brow bone, and then just give a nice blend. I went ahead and did my liner and lashes off camera. If y'all want a tutorial on that, I can definitely do one for you. Just let me know in the comment box below. Finishing up the rest of the eye, I'm taking a black brown eyeliner pencil from Color Mates, putting it along the bottom lash line and into the waterline. Then my favorite brush for this is the smudge brush from It Cosmetics, or any kind of smudge brush. It's like a really short, bristled, compact brush. Helps get along the lash line and also apply some really heavy pigmented shadow. First I'll start with Pumpkin, the first orange that we worked with. And then on top of that, go a little bit of Squash. And then dusting just a little bit of mud just along the lash line itself. So I'm gonna clean up this area with some foundation and I'll be right back. Just a little bit of mascara on the bottom lashes as well. Alright, and then you have some basic eyeshadow 101 for y'all. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, don't forget to thumbs up. If you have any other questions on basic eyeshadow or even basic makeup, let me know. Any questions I'm happy to take and even bring to my channel for a tutorial, as you can tell. I hope y'all will be back, because you know I will be. Slay your eyeshadow every time, y'all. Give yourself some patience and always give yourself some time to practice. That's probably the biggest tip I can give you as far as understanding eyeshadow. Y'all stay beautiful inside and out, and I will be back with more from Fabulex Makeup. Much love.